Today is Friday, August 13th, 2021. I'm Xandra McMahon, and this is CityCast Denver. All right, we're back. It's another Friday the 13th, actually, so happy Friday the 13th. And Bree Davies is here. Hi, Bree.
Hi.
And we have a guest today with us, Kalyn Heffernan. Hi, Kalyn.
Hi.
Kalyn, do you want to introduce yourself? Like, just talk about the many, many things that you do around Denver for people who don't know?
Yeah, sure. I'm a man of many hats. I am mostly a rapper, and it got me into educating and activism and protesting and performance art and politics and yeah, all the things.
Great. Well, and one of the other projects that you have worked on for the last couple years, which is part of the reason why we wanted to have you on today, is you have a room at Meow Wolf.
I'm an immersive artist now too. I forgot to add that.
Yeah, just keep adding on.
Immersive.
Well, Bree and I, we got to go down and check out Meow Wolf this week, and we're going to have that story out next week. But we wanted to do a little bit of a deeper dive into what Meow Wolf coming to Denver means, especially now that we're a little more than a month out from its opening on September 17th. And in case you're like, what the heck is Meow Wolf? Here's a real quick recap. Meow Wolf is this giant immersive art experience that originated in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So it's like rooms of amazing artwork that's often interactive. It's also a music venue. And so it was announced in early 2018 that Meow Wolf would open a new location in Denver and thus employed more than 100 local artists to create Convergence Station. That's the name of Denver's Meow Wolf that was announced earlier this month. And that brings us to today. So, Bree, I'm going to let you and Kalyn take it away because you both know way more about Meow Wolf and its connection to Denver than I do.
Well, I feel like we have a long, not history with Meow Wolf, but Kalyn and I have both been connected to the DIY art world where Meow Wolf originated. Kalyn, can you talk about how you got involved with the Denver edition of Meow Wolf and I mean, I know you have to make a proposal to get a room, an installation, but what was your connection or work with Meow Wolf prior to?
Yeah, so we played, Wheelchair Sports Camp played pretty early on. We played a show in Santa Fe pretty shortly after they had opened and had a blast. They welcomed us with open arms and let us explore, and I was surprised at how inaccessible it was.
How much the Meow Wolf itself, the space, was inaccessible to you as a person who uses a wheelchair. Yeah.
Yeah, I that was kind of my entry point into Meow Wolf, was like, hey, that was fun. Let me help you make this more accessible. But it was only a few months later that we started hearing that like Denver was probably next, and then there was a private invite-only discussion with the big team of Meow Wolf that I was invited to when they had their first conversation about, hey, we're exploring Denver as our next place to land. And so I asked in front of everybody, like, what's up with your accessibility? Is it going to be more accessible? And again, they were like, oh, we know we messed up, and we want to make it right. In fact, we even want to have a room that's only for disabled folks and not accessible. Somebody was like, oh, but we haven't figured it out yet. And I was like, oh, interesting. Do you have disabled artists working on that?
Yeah.
And I feel like I got the job then. And so we were invited to the first group of proposals. There was an invite only.
For artists, for installations.
Correct. We proposed a room that Greg drummer from Wheelchair Sports Camp, has been concepting before he was even in the band, which is like a room built for me and not for him.
Because he's enabled person. He's my husband also. But
Most of the times.
Sometimes he's my husband, most of the time.
And so, yeah, we were really trying to get this room that we did it on green screen. We've done it on our CD artwork, but we're like, cool, now we can really build it. And then we wanted the ceilings to be 5'5" because that was tall enough to get a tall power wheelchair in it. And turns out that would not be accessible.
So in order to make this room that sort of the vision was, like you're saying, you've created it in previous artwork, you've rendered it in other places, a room that is only accessible to most folks with disabilities, not accessible to the average abled person. But then it turns out you can't really make that room because then it essentially becomes inaccessible.
And then we got a room with 15-foot ceilings instead of 5.5. Yeah, so what we ended up doing is making the bottom half more like for me and for wheelchair users. And then the top half of the room is out of reach to the average size person, which gives my perspective. So we built a wheelchair space kitchen time portal, and we used my kitchen as an example a lot, and we used the Rhinoceropolis kitchen as inspiration as well. Kind of have a little bit of both perspectives. It's like a place built for us, and then a place that's like not built for the average person.
And you brought up Rhinoceropolis, which is a performance space here in Denver that's been around for over a decade. It also was a long time was a home for artists. Upwards of 12 people could live there at one time. It was sort of a nondescript building off of Brighton Boulevard, where really amazing stuff happened. And I mean, every live performances of any kind, performance art, music, plays, I mean, just wild experiences were happening. And there's a connection here in Denver between the folks that started Meow Wolf and the Rhinoceropolis crew of artists too. And I was actually, when we were at Meow Wolf yesterday, I was talking to artist and filmmaker Kim Shively about it. The connection, like before Meow Wolf, the experience that you can go to now in Santa Fe existed. They were doing other projects. They were really a DIY art collective. And a couple of them had come to Denver a few times for an event at Rhinoceropolis called Fantasia, which was an immersive art experience before immersive art experiences were really popular. But I'm bringing this up because I'm thinking about, so once Meow Wolf has made the decision they're going to come to Denver, there was this party to sort of celebrate, like, you know, they've done a couple events to kind of get word out there. People are talking about it, get artists in the room with other politicians and all kinds of people. And you and I were at a Meow Wolf party with a lot of Rhinoceropolis artists were there, but also we ran into former councilman Albus Brooks and the former head of planning, Brad Buchanan. What had happened was, prior to this party, around the same time that Meow Wolf was making these decisions to come to Denver, in 2016, the ghost ship fire happened in Oakland, where a very similar DIY space burned down and dozens of people were killed. And in response to that, cities like Denver just started shutting down art spaces that resembled this out of a supposed concern over fire code issues. And that happened in Albus Brooks district. So there's this DIY space doing exactly what Meow Wolf is doing on a sort of quote unquote illegal level, gets shut down. And then he shows up at this party for the corporate version of DIY that's essentially happening, or the evolution, I would say, because Meow Wolf began in that space. But you and I were really mad. You were super mad. Can you talk about the confrontation sort of that you had with Albus about what was happening in the city at that time with DIY?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was a devastating loss to the DIY community, the ghost ship fire, obviously, and then for it to immediately be followed by the eviction of our friends on a cold night, and it's just so obtrusive and awful. It's it's almost like 9/11 happened, and then boom, we're in two wars. You know, it's like this devastating thing happens in Oakland, and now all the other places are just getting like ransacked, and it like became this witch hunt for DIY venues, which like, you know, the city knew that Rhinoceropolis was opening or running.
It had been inspected by the fire department every year, every 6 months for 10 years. It was very clear that it existed.
And, you know, as we know with DIY venues, is like they're always looking for a reason to shut it down so that they can prop up the people that are paying the city, such as Live Nation AG. Anyway, so like, yeah, it was a devastating like time. And then Meow Wolf is coming, and there's all this weird feelings as being an artist included in that, and then also like the effects of our city and on our city. And so the first person that we saw when we came was Kalyn Ward, who was one of those artists that was evicted, who was the artist that had Fantasia that inspired the entire Meow Wolf mecca. And
Kalyn was evicted from Rhinoceropolis.
Correct. And he had been houseless since that eviction. So here he is out front smoking cigarettes, and I'm like, oh, it's so good to see you. You know, like I knew that I was in the right place by seeing him first and hugging him first. And, you know, either being part of Meow Wolf and him being part of it made me feel like, okay, this isn't all bad, you know, like we're gonna do it. And then we're in there, and you're like, I can't believe that this guy is here.
That Elvis is here, yeah.
After and I'm like, no, where? Remember me and you were like, where is he? We're like, we're on a witch hunt for Elvis Brooks. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Am I going to, like, accidentally run into him? I don't know. I was, like, trying to figure out all these scenarios at how I'm going to talk to this dude and cuss him out at a party and still, like, keep it together. And then as soon as we saw him, he was headed straight from the bathroom to the front door to leave. So I chased him, and they were shutting the door on me. And I was like, wait. And I, like, put my chair in the door to make them open it for me. And that's what I was like, what are you doing here, dude? And he's like, what really excited about Meow Wolf. I was like, oh, what? Because they have $50 million? Like, do you realize that the people inside of there are the same people you evicted and that, like, you haven't done anything for? And we just had this kind of heated argument, and they're like, oh, we need to build the trust of artists. And I'm like, you think we're going to trust you? You think you're going to show up in this cowboy hat to a $50 million art party, and we know you've never showed up to any other local art parties, and you want us to trust you? Like, that's not how this works, you know? Oh, we started a commission, and we did this, and we're doing that. And I'm like, guess what? We still know who you are. We know your relationships. Like, if you want trust, you can't just, like, show up and act like, please trust us, you know? Like, your actions have never shown that. And we're never going to trust you unless you start giving us a reason to trust you. So F you, and I hope you get home okay.
And now Elvis works for a construction and development company. He is. But I think I just wanted you to tell that story because it explores the dichotomy that a lot of artists are experiencing with the sort of landing of Meow Wolf in Denver. It's a big deal. It's a big opportunity. Like you're saying, you have a room in it. You got paid to create something. A lot of our friends are being employed by Meow Wolf. They're getting things like benefits and like money, like getting guaranteed money, when artists for a long time have not been able to have guaranteed incomes in the city. So it's just so much more complicated than this cool thing came from Santa Fe and now we have it. I just wanted you to share that story, because I think you are a great example of how the push and pull of being an artist and making these decisions. Like, how do I do my art, stick to my guns, stay with my ethos, but also take opportunities when they arise?
Yeah, it's tricky, and I mean, it's the politics of everything, like it's politics itself, it's art itself. It's like, how do we survive under capitalism, and also like how do we keep our integrity? And I knew that it's still gonna be messy, it's gonna be hard, and honestly, like $50 million, it's now how many $1 million project is it? I think it's past 50.
Oh yeah, it's huge. They built an original building from the ground up, and I think what you're saying is like it's messy in that many companies come to Denver and build massive projects and in the middle of communities. This is not uncommon. But what it is with Meow Wolf, I think that makes it special, or at least the reason they have to confer with the arts community and communities in general, is they're relying on artists to be authentic, and they're relying on that authenticity to transfer to them and give them the clout and the legitimacy. And you can't just come in and do that. You have to be able to connect with the arts community directly and get people's trust. Because if people don't trust you, and I think I'm still on the fence about it myself, even though I know a ton of wonderful people that work there, it still feels like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. It's in the Sun Valley neighborhood, which is our lowest income neighborhood in the city. What's going to happen to the people of Sun Valley when things like developments like this come in? Is that going to fundamentally change the fabric of their built environment?
And that's something that I've been thinking about a lot too, is like, obviously Sun Valley, and it's like, okay, well, who sold the lot first? Was it Meow Wolf or the people that sold the Elitch's parking lot now to be how many condos?
Right.
Like that neighborhood has been, and you know this way more than me as a city planner, that neighborhood has been planned to be gentrified and flipped and redeveloped, as they'll say, for 10, 15 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's starting to happen. And that's where artists really examine their role in that, too.
You know what I mean? Like, for me to, like, boycott Meow Wolf, or for me to, like, not be a part of Meow Wolf because I know it's going to have an impact on that community, I don't know how to do that, because that community has already been sold.
Yeah. Well, and it would close the door on the thing that I kind of want to bring this back to close it up, is the accessibility component of the building itself. If you weren't involved in it, maybe if those conversations weren't happening, those thoughts wouldn't have been in process. And I went to Meow Wolf yesterday. There's huge elevators everywhere. I'm not saying it's totally accessible. There's still exhibits that have stairs, but it's much more accessible than the Santa Fe version. And that's because you didn't close that door. You said, I want to have this conversation with you. So we could talk about Meow Wolf, obviously, for 100 years. Alexandra, what's next?
Okay, we'll move on to next topic. But yes, I'm sure this will be a continuing conversation for at least the next month, probably more than that. So, Kalyn, we like to do this topic on CityCast called New Denver, Old Denver, which is just kind of a way for us to slow down, reflect on the change, the constant change that's happening in Denver. So we usually bring one thing from the week that we saw or experienced that either reminded us of how Denver used to be or how Denver is now. So, Bree, do you want to start, or should we make Kalyn start?
I could start. I'm gonna the thing I have is visual. I'm going to share these on Twitter as well. But I got a really nice package from a listener and Twitter friend named Alan Bucknam. And he reached out to me and said, I have these postcards from Kenny B. And I just want to send them to you because I think they'll mean something to you. And Kenny B was the staff cartoonist for Westward for a really long time. And he did these, he's always done these sort of hilarious political, they're not what you would think of a traditional political cartoon. They're sort of making fun of Denver in a very particular way. Again, I'll share them on Twitter if you're not familiar with Kenny B, but it sort of brought me back to growing up here in Denver and reading Westward. And I always looked for Kenny B's cartoons, but he's just sort of a satirist of our city and our politics and our art and the things that we think are cool. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to listener and Twitter friend Alan for sending these awesome postcards to me. And if you don't know who Kenny B is, it's just Kenny B.E. You can Google him and see his work. It's just a nice little thing to think about back when we had things like staff cartoonists at newspapers. Kalyn, what is your new Denver, old Denver thing?
I went to a venue not that long ago that is so new Denver. I was so uncomfortable and just really, it's called Number 38, and it's literally right by Rhinoceropolis. It feels like a beer cafeteria, cement warehouse, and you can get food. It's either pho, ramen, Asian food, or tacos. I saw no Asians or Mexicans serving the food. It was actually pretty good. I didn't want to trust it. And you give them your card at the front, and they give you a ribbon wristband like you would get at a festival now. And it's your tab. So when you leave the building, it cashes you out, which is genius and creepy as all hell. So you have this wristband, and that's how you pay for all your things. And then you leave without cashing out, and they cash you out. And then the stage is outdoors in front of these brand new condos that have been consistently complaining about the noise. So now everybody has to wear in-ear monitors. It's not that loud. It was just and there was fake grass and benches, and it is the weirdest thing ever. And once again, I have artist friends that work there and are employed there. I have friends that will play there, have played there. So it's not, it's not like all or nothing kind. It's not like I'm never gonna go there again, even though
I'm sensing some conflictedness in your voice
it's
about the space.
All these things are conflicting, but that change is inevitable, and I was so baffled that this is the kind of place and experience that New Denver wants.
So, Number 38 is very New Denver.
So New Denver. Holy wow.
Okay.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Last category. Staff picks, which this is kind of we're going to call Alice in Wonderland a recommendation, a staff pick, because it sounds awesome and we want to hear more about it. So, Bree and Kalyn, do you want to talk about Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, so I want to talk to you, Kalyn, about this because Alice in Wonderland is the play is opening this weekend at Su Teatro, and can you talk about your involvement in this production?
It's opening weekend. Yes, it's been 2 years in the making. Reagan, the director, who was at the time the artistic director of Family Theater Company, which is the first and longest all-disability theater crew in the country, that does some really big productions with casts of all disabilities. She asked me to come to coffee, and Reagan Linton, has been wanting to do more original things within families. So she was like, what if we did Alice in Wonderland and you, Wheelchair Sports Camp, wrote the music? And I was like, whoa, I don't even like musicals.
I don't even like musicals. You're terrible.
I don't even know anything about theater. I've never done theater. So, yeah, we had agreed shortly after to do it. And then Reagan had seen Alice in Wonderland at some theater festival and was like, it's way too dry. And it's just, the original adaptation is just not going to work. I couldn't even get through the script.
Is it boring?
It's so boring. And just like the language, I don't know. The language is very outdated, so it's like really hard to like keep up. So then she hit up her screenplay writer friend. I'm learning a lot of theater terms to write an original script. So we started writing the music. He started writing the script. And both the music and the script were starting to inform each other. Reagan started to carve out some, hey, Caterpillar needs a song, French Mouse needs a song, these scenes need soundscapes. It became such a much bigger production musically, composition. I mean, like we scored like a real big thing. It's way different than any Wheelchair Sports Camp record. And I'm the Cheshire Cat head every night.
So you play the Cheshire Cat's head. The cat is in multiple pieces on stage. So you're part of this group of performers that's playing the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah, it's a 26-person cast, all disabilities, all age ranges, and then all vaccinated except the two youngsters. Yeah, there's the Cheshire Cat head, tail, and body. The tail and body are incredible actors. Everybody's incredible. This is my first time acting. I am like being thrown into theater world in such a big and intense way, and it's been so much fun and such a commitment. Theater people are so committed. Oh my goodness.
They show up.
Whoa, 5 times a week, 5 nights a week, 13-hour tech days. I can't even believe the amount of commitment that theater people have.
So at Su Teatro, you can get tickets through Su Teatro. You can also buy the Alice in Wonderland soundtrack, correct? Download or vinyl through Wheelchair Sports Camp's Bandcamp?
Yep.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm going to go see it next week. We got tickets, so
yay!
I can't wait. Well, Kalyn, thanks for telling us all about all the stuff you're working on.
Oh, my pleasure. You know, I love talking about myself.
Oh, so Xandra, we have one more announcement, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so CityCast Denver is going to be doing a live podcast taping at the Underground Music Showcase this year. We're super excited about it. Our event is on Friday, August 27th at 6 p.m. at Mutiny Information Cafe. We're going to be talking about the quote-unquote diversity in music conversation with my friends Bruce Trujillo from Indie 102.3 in Swallow Hill, as well as Colorful Colorado Collaborations, and Wes Watkins, a musician, songwriter, singer, human about town. You've seen him, you know him, he's amazing. Miguel Avina from Izcali is also going to join us. And we're just going to talk about what the realities are of being musicians and artists of color in a world that all of a sudden is focusing on things like quote unquote diversity and equity. What does that really mean for artists? Are we seeing change on the back end of the music industry? Are there changes in who runs venues, who books things, who's getting paid? And I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. That is free. I don't think you have to have a UMS wristband. You can wander into Mutiny Information Cafe Friday, August 27th, 6 p.m. Join us. And we'll be hanging out afterwards as well. You can meet the CityCast Denver staff, team. Sorry, we're a team. We're not a staff. We're very small. And you can come and ask us questions, bring us ideas. But yeah, I'm excited.
Woo! That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were me, Xandra McMahon, and Paul Caroli. Bree Davies is our host. Peyton Garcia writes our morning newsletter. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren, plus more from the Epidemic Sound Library. If you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at CityCast Denver, and tell a friend about us next time you see them. You can sign up for our daily newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll see you next week.